Hello again, Club. Today I'm bringing you another build for Warhammer Chaosbane, and this one is for Konrad the Soldier and for the Solland set, the one that gives you the heroic Justice of the Empire skill. This is why I've decided to call this the Holy Justice build. It is a nice build, and the more enemies you have around you, the better your damage and the better your cooldown, and as a result the damage as well. So you get Heroic Justice of the Empire. Then the set also gives you the ability to get some cooldown reduction as you're blocking hits. So stacking a lot of survivability helps you, together with Blade of Vengeance, to keep walking and get up to 400% extra damage. So once again, if you have more enemies around you, you're gonna be blocking more, you're gonna be proccing those Blade of Vengeance stacks more often, and as a result you would be also getting more damage and cooldown reduction. On Chaos 7 and 8, when I stack a lot of those Blade of Vengeance stacks together with Blessing of the Brave passive, I can get up to 30 something, close to 14 million damage. Of course you can play this with the damage banner if you don't want extra cooldown reduction, but it's a bit risky, and it's up to you to decide whether you want to do that or not. The survivability comes from various damage reduction sources, such as the banner of the order. Then we have the Herald of the Empire banner upgrade from a passive. Then we have Divine Judgment. We also have Hero of the Desert. And we also can get a passive from our legend ranks. And you can keep your health up thanks to the combination of Thrice-Blessed Copper Medal together with Sigmar's Bastion. The skills you would want for this build are similar to what I'm using here. There's some flavors you can add, so if you don't want this you can use this or that one, but what I do like about Incisive Breakthrough is you can get extra 10% damage reduction while using it, but you're rarely gonna be even using this attack here. Then this thing here is also something you can modify to your preference. You can either use a potion or you can use a second chain reaction, although you really don't need the other chain reactions. And another thing you can do is getting HP or getting wood quality if you're farming, or maybe extra healing if you want to heal more, or extra damage, whichever you prefer. I prefer myself to get that extra elixir of power for 30% damage for 4 seconds, but you might wanna go another route here. The key things, of course, Justice of the Empire Heroic, Sigmar's Blessing, basic for extra damage and walk chance and energy regeneration. The banner you can play with the Banner of the Order for harder content, and for easy content Banner of the Empire. Banner of the Empire would give you extra cooldown, extra damage and extra energy cost reduction, whereas where with this one you get extra 30% damage reduction, which with Herald of the Empire Mastered, regardless on which one you use, you get 10% damage and damage reduction. Then Break Through the Lines is just for mobility, and Sigmar's Bastion is an important skill because together with the Thrice-Blessed Medal you keep healing every time you use this beam. So each one of those beams would heal you. Duelist chain reaction is important because if you keep spamming Justice of the Empire and if you have enough cooldown reduction, that would always be at 400%, which is always a welcome addition. It might be a bit difficult to keep it up if you don't have good cooldown reduction and you're one-on-one versus a boss that doesn't have ads. Because the more enemies you have around you, the stronger this build is, because the faster you would get 20 stacks for Blade of Vengeance for 400% base damage, and the more your cooldowns would be resetting as a result of the Solland's Justice. Here you get Divine Judgment Mastered, and here Hero of the Desert. This is for extra damage reduction and extra damage done to the nearby enemies, and this one is a bit of everything. So it's pretty nice. So that's it for the skills, and when it comes to the legendary ranks, when it's difficult content like Chaos 7 and 8, I would suggest going for that one. Otherwise you can go for legendary punishment to get extra damage done. If you wanna mix things up a little, maybe you can use this one and do something like that. It's not bad, and it is a good alternative choice to get damage reduction and damage done. So it's up to you how you're gonna play it. Maybe reinforcement is actually the better option, since we do use skills with cooldown all the time. The god skills are using points in both the Oath and the new god skill 3. You wanna go here for justice, for divine judgment and stop, and you wanna go all the way here to blessing of the brave and stop. Now this is a little flavor I've added, and this was not in the original build that EZD showed me. Originally EZD told me to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points for 10 cooldown reduction. I thought instead of going for that cooldown reduction, there's some options I'm gonna show you. One of them is going 1, 2, 3 here for the damage, and then 1, 2, 3 here for this damage. Alternatively, if you want a little bit of cooldown reduction, you can remove those 3 points here. You're losing 12 damage and 4 energy cost, but you can gain 2 damage, 6 cooldown reduction and 30% crit damage. This is not a bad choice. Another 3 points you can spend would be here for extra crit damage and flat damage, but I do think the better option is the way I took 22% extra damage, 30% crit damage and 4% energy. You really don't need the energy, but it's a good choice. But if you need more cooldown, that's the option. You can spend 3 or 2 points here, and you can spend, if you want, 6 points here. The items you want to be using, first of all, you want Solland set. You want a Solland set, and you want to make sure your HP is close to 300, not 300, to 400,000 HP. Once you get your HP to 400,000 with HP blessings, which are, you take an item and then you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with a token, green. And that gives you between 18 and 20,000 HP. So once you're satisfied with the amount of HP you have, you can start experimenting by doing things like this. Or you can even get more damage by doing this. Or even more damage if you do this. So those are just some options on how you can get damage mixed with HP or just purely HP. I do not suggest doing that because it's just not gonna give you enough damage. 4200, you can get more damage by doing 2 green in the middle. Up to 4480. So mix and match to your preference in regards to how much HP you feel comfortable with and how much damage you need. You can see I've got one thing here that is with 2 green, 3 green and 3 red, and this one is with 2 green and 4 red, and this one is with 2 green and 4 red. All others are purely HP for me. Then you want the Thrice-Blessed Copper Medal because this allows you to heal each time you use Sigmar's Blessing, and each time you use this beam, each one of those beams would heal you. You want Blade of Vengeance because each time you block you get 20% bonus damage, up to 20 stacks, a total of 400% damage. Very good increase. For the shield it doesn't matter which one you use as long as it has the correct rows, which I will mention in a moment. And for the rings there are few options. For the rings I am using Fortification and Fortitude. EZD, who enlightened me about this build himself, was using Resurgence together with Fortification. So 3 good rings: Resurgence, Fortitude and Fortification. If you want, you can experiment removing one of the more defensive rings and adding a Purple Signet for more damage. Or maybe if you want more, what's it called? If you want more cooldown reduction, you can try and use, where was it? There was a ring that, the Retribution. It's up to you, but those are the rings I suggest. Now for the rolls you want, of course, HP on every single piece and armor. On every single piece of armor you want HP and armor, and something that would help but is not necessary is health regeneration. It only helps with invasions. On the helmet you want cooldown reduction, a must have. Resistance to damage over time also helps when doing invasions or dealing with some nasty enemies, but not a must have. And for the boot, speed bonus is nice if you can get it. And for the gauntlets you want flat damage, so you don't need damage over time, but you want armor, flat damage, maximum HP, and maybe crit damage if you can get it here. So when it comes to the rings, my ideal choice of ring would have cooldown reduction, crit chance, flat damage and HP. Those 4 stats. Anything after that is a bonus. So try to get those 4 stats, and the highest priority should be on the cooldown reduction, crit chance and damage. You can get HP from blessings even if you're whacking it, you can just sacrifice that from other places, but crit chance and cooldown reduction and flat damage are the top priorities, with HP being the 4th, and the 5th later when you wanna min-max anything would be fine. Crit damage, armor piercing, whatever you can get would be fine. That goes for rings and amulets. For the blade you want armor piercing, cooldown reduction, damage, HP, crit damage. So you don't want counterattack damage, you don't want cost reduction. So in here, instead of having counterattack damage and cost reduction, I can probably have a little bit of HP, which is up to 40,000 if I can get a good roll, and anything else that would be fine. Here you want cooldown reduction, armor piercing, crit chance, flat damage, HP and block chance. Block damage also helps. So in this one I've got almost a perfect roll. The wood quality could have been something else. But for the shield I'm not sure what else you would want there. Honestly, I'm not sure what else you can get. You don't need energy, you don't need damage over time. When it comes to the shield, I said any base is fine. Probably Medic's Pavis would be fine, so if you use Medic's Pavis, regardless whether it's on this armor or whether I equip it on that one, you can get Heroic Wisdom of the Apothecary, and if you want you can replace this with that one. It's not a bad choice. I do prefer getting this extra damage though. So that's it for the gear. I hope it's clear. If you have any questions, ask in the comments or catch me on Discord and ask me there. Now I'm gonna show you a bit more gameplay to top things off. When it comes to playing the build, basically, as I said, you can either use it with the damage banner or with the damage reduction. If you are doing lower difficulty, you want to do something like that, although this is Chaos 7 mind you. You want to try and use this banner, the damage one. If you are having difficulty surviving, then of course use the damage reduction banner. What you want is to gather a group of enemies and just place the banner down, and the bigger the group the better it is for you. If there's an enemy that you couldn't kill, like this fat guy that keeps coming after us, just ignore him and let him come to you with the next group. Don't stay and try to kill him 1v1. It's gonna take longer than it should. So this fat guy, we left it, and look at that, he's coming after us with the next group. So that we don't waste time just trying to 1v1 with barely any vengeance stacks. And the more enemies, as I said, the more the vengeance stacks, the more our cooldowns would keep resetting, and as a result the DPS would be going higher and higher. The same goes for bosses. If you are gonna do a boss, try to gather a lot of enemies before you reach the boss. Don't kill the adds before attacking the boss like some other builds normally would want to do. for you, crowds are bigger crits and bigger hits and more cooldown. That's why you want them. Now I'm gonna show you the boss fight. You're gonna see me starting it with a lot of enemies coming after me. Then the first thing you do is place the banner, start spamming meteors and start using Sigmar's Bastion, and you're just spamming Sigmar's Bastion to keep healing, and in the meantime you're spamming meteors. So in my case it's gonna be number 4 and my right click. Of course try to keep Sigmar's Blessing up all the time, because it gives you extra block chance and damage, which in my case is my number 1. And only replace the banner when needed. The banner unfortunately does not count as a skill with cooldown, even though it is a skill and it has a cooldown. It's kind of glitched, and currently placing banners that does not trigger do this chain reaction or other similar things. So you see, when it's just me and the boss, it becomes a bit harder with my lack of cooldown reduction from my items to keep do this chain reaction up to 4 stacks. But if there's things like those damage over time fields on the ground, it might end up proccing your cooldown reduction more often. Thank you for watching this video, folks. If you've enjoyed it, you can subscribe to my channel to get notified for future uploads for Warhammer Chaosbane, Torchlight Frontiers, Wolfenstein, Borderlands 3 and other Wooter games that I play, make content for and stream. If you liked it or didn't like it, you can also let me know by hitting the corresponding buttons, and I would also like to hear in the comment sections regarding any things that you think could be better or you liked yourself. Feel free to experiment and maybe modify the build to make it to your liking and to suit your playstyle. As I said, there is some room to modify it. Thanks again for watching, keep it cool, and until next time, goodbye.